Hello and welcome to Investment Insight. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button. Now let's break down what's happening in the markets today in a clear and simple way.
Sounds good.
So if I told you there was like a secret risk-free investment strategy out there that practically guarantees a 21% return every single year, you'd probably think it was a scam.
Oh, totally. A
Yeah.
Ponzi scheme or something.
Right. But the reality is you might actually already hold the key to that exact investment in your wallet right now. Today's mission in this custom deep dive is to settle a really stressful financial question.
Yeah, it's a big one for a lot of people.
It is. Should you pay off your debt first or should you start investing? Because, we're talking to you, the listener, who might be staring at a credit card bill right now and wondering what the best move is.
It's basically the ultimate fork in the road for how you allocate your capital. And historically, the financial industry has draped this topic in just a lot of heavy emotion.
Oh, for sure. So much guilt.
Exactly. People get super defensive about, good debt versus bad debt, or they feel this tremendous amount of guilt every time they look at a statement. But we are going to strip all of that away today.
Because based on recent analysis, this really isn't about guilt at all. It is entirely a math problem based on our current economic environment. We just need to look at the raw numbers.
We do. And to do that, we have to establish a foundational premise for anyone listening. Paying off your debt and investing your money are actually just two sides of the exact same coin.
Okay, how so?
Well, they are both vehicles to allocate your capital to improve your overall net worth. But there is one glaring difference between the two.
Which is?
One offers a guaranteed return on your money, while the other offers a return that is, well, completely uncertain.
Let's stop right there, because to really break down what's happening in the markets today, we fundamentally have to change the lens through which we view a loan.
Yeah, we have to completely reframe it.
Culturally, we are taught to see a loan as a burden. It's a chore, right? It's just that annoying bill you have to pay every month to keep the lights on or keep the car in the driveway.
Right, it's just a drain.
But looking at the data, we need to stop seeing debt payoff as a chore and start seeing it as a highly competitive investment strategy.
Yeah, the underlying mechanism here is actually quite elegant. When you pay down a debt, you are yielding a guaranteed return that is exactly equal to the interest rate on that specific loan.
Okay, break that down for me. Let's walk through the mechanics.
Sure. Say you have a loan with an 8% interest rate. Every dollar you leave in that loan balance is being charged 8% a year.
Right.
So if you take your extra cash and pay that loan off early, you are stopping that 8% charge from happening.
You're just blocking the leak.
Exactly. By preventing that loss, you are essentially giving yourself a guaranteed risk-free 8% return on your money. You have locked in that saving permanently.
Okay, so compare that mechanism to the stock market for me.
Well, stock market investments might average out to higher returns over the span of, say, 3 or 4 decades. But in any given 12-month period, they are entirely uncertain.
Highly volatile.
Very. They fluctuate wildly based on earnings reports, geopolitical events, you name it. You can easily lose 15% of your value in a bad year.
So to make this click for you, the listener, it's like being offered a guaranteed $80 bill right now. No strings attached.
I'll take it.
Right. Versus being handed a scratch-off ticket that might win you $100, but, might also win you absolutely nothing. Or even cost you money to play.
That's a great analogy. The scratch-off ticket represents the stock market. It has a higher potential payout if everything goes perfectly.
But that $80 is a sure thing.
Yeah, the guaranteed cash is right there the moment you hit submit payment on your loan.
Which makes me wonder why we culturally treat our credit card bills and our brokerage accounts as completely separate, isolated worlds.
It is weird when you think about it.
It is. Think about it. You log into one app on your phone to pay your Visa bill, and then you open a totally different app to buy a share of an index fund. We never let those two apps talk to each other.
No, we really don't.
But mathematically, those two accounts are directly competing against each other for your extra dollars.
They absolutely are. And the reason for that disconnect is purely psychological. Human beings love the thrill of potential gains,
We want the dopamine.
Exactly. Watching a stock ticker flash green on your screen actually releases dopamine in your brain. It's exciting. What isn't exciting is the silent, invisible drain of compounding interest happening in the background of your debt app.
Actually, let's define that silent drain.
Yeah.
How exactly is compounding interest working against someone who is carrying debt?
So compounding interest is essentially interest generating its own interest.
Okay.
If you owe $100 at a 20% interest rate and you don't pay it off, next month you don't just owe interest on the original $100, you owe interest on $120.
Oh, wow. So it just feeds on itself.
Yeah, the snowball gets larger and it rolls faster down the hill every single billing cycle. It is a mathematical engine designed to accelerate your debt.
That sounds terrifying.
It is. And in our current economy, where markets are volatile, stopping that snowball, locking in that certainty, has a very high premium.
Well, if certainty has a premium and paying off debt is a guaranteed return, let's look at the highest guaranteed returns available to you right now.
Let's do it.
Unfortunately, those massive returns are masquerading as high-interest consumer debt. I was looking at recent analysis from Reuters, and as of January 2026, the average U.S. credit card interest rate was sitting at a staggering 20.97%.
That is just brutal. Anyone holding that kind of debt needs to treat it as a 5-alarm financial fire.
A total emergency.
Absolute emergency. In the financial world, we categorize revolving debt, which is debt that rolls over from month to month, like credit cards or high-interest personal loans, as an absolute crisis if the interest rate is over 10%.
So 20% is just off the charts.
It is. When you are paying off a credit card with a 21% interest rate, going back to our earlier premise, you are effectively earning a guaranteed 21% return on your capital.
I have to push back here, though, on behalf of anyone listening who spends time on finance social media.
Oh boy. Okay, let's hear it.
Because I open up my phone and I see people bragging about their tech stocks jumping 25% this year. If the market is having a massive bull run, shouldn't I try to beat my credit card rate by aggressively investing in those stocks?
I hear this argument constantly, and mathematically, it is comparing apples to a live grenade.
A live grenade.
Yes, it is a massive trap. Earning 25% in the stock market in a single year is a rare, unrepeatable event. More importantly, it comes with enormous underlying risk.
Because it can drop just as fast.
Exactly. For a stock to go up 25% in a year, it possesses the volatility to drop 30% the following year. Credit card interest, however, possesses zero volatility.
It's just a constant drain.
Right. A 21% interest rate is a 21% loss that is 100% guaranteed to hit you every single month relentlessly. It does not take days off.
It doesn't care if there's a bad earnings report.
Nope. So you simply cannot outinvest a guaranteed loss of that magnitude.
The math just does not work.
It doesn't. If you have that kind of debt, your priority has to be crystal clear. You have to stop adding to the balance, cut your discretionary spending, leave only a minimal emergency fund, and aggressively attack that debt.
And I imagine you have to fix the habit, too.
That is step one, because if you don't change the daily consumption habits that created the high-interest debt, you'll just end up right back in the same hole 6 months after you pay it off.
Right.
The real danger of consumer debt isn't just the balance, it's the repetition.
Okay, so credit cards and revolving high-interest loans are an obvious trap. But what about the classic good debt?
The mortgage.
Yes, the cornerstone of the American dream, the 30-year mortgage. For decades, the conventional wisdom was rigid. You get a mortgage, you never pay it off early, and you invest all your extra cash into the stock market.
That was the rule book for a long time.
But the data shows that the definition of what makes a mortgage good debt has completely shifted under our feet.
The landscape has shifted dramatically. If we zoom out to the macroeconomic picture, we have to look at the current U.S. economy under President Trump. We are absolutely not in the low interest rate environment of the 2010s anymore.
Not even close.
No. According to Freddie Mac data from July 9, 2026, the average 30-year fixed mortgage is sitting at 6.49%. The 15-year mortgage is at 5.79%.
That's a huge difference from a few years ago.
It is. Those numbers mean the old ironclad rule of never paying off your mortgage early is officially obsolete.
To put that in perspective, holding a mortgage back in the old 3% era was like driving your car on a clear, flat interstate highway. It was effortless.
Just cruising along.
Exactly. You could carry that debt and invest your extra cash simultaneously because your stock portfolio was easily outpacing that tiny 3% headwind.
Right.
But today, at a 6.49% mortgage rate, It's like trying to drive on that same highway with the parking brake pulled all the way up.
Yeah, the friction on your wealth building is intense now.
So does this new data mean mortgages are now technically bad debt?
No, a mortgage is still backed by a tangible asset, the real estate itself, and it provides necessary housing stability, so it isn't bad debt.
Okay, that's good to hear.
However, the math of carrying that debt has fundamentally changed. Paying down a 6.49% mortgage is now a highly competitive, guaranteed return.
It rivals the market.
It really does. Let's compare the two sides of the coin again. The long-term expected average return of the broader stock market is usually estimated around 7 to 9%.
Wait, I want to clarify something there. That 7 to 9% is an average across decades, right?
Right.
Meaning one year it's up 18%, the next it's down 10%?
Exactly. It includes wild swings. It is highly volatile. So when you are sitting at your kitchen table, comparing an uncertain, volatile 7 to 9% against a guaranteed risk-free 6.49%.
That is a brutally tough comparison for the stock market to win.
Very tough. For many everyday investors, locking in that nearly 6.5% guaranteed return by paying down their mortgage principal early is actually the mathematically smarter, significantly less stressful move.
Okay, so a 21% credit card is an obvious five-alarm fire, and a 6.5% mortgage is a remarkably strong contender for your cash.
Right.
But I'm looking at my own finances right now, or maybe you, the listener, are looking at yours, and you have a car loan sitting at exactly 5.5%.
The tricky middle ground.
Yeah, it's right in purgatory. Which side of the coin does that fall on? The data points out that this 4 to 6% debt zone comes down to a mix of personal stability and this concept of hidden tax magic.
This is where true financial literacy really separates the average earner from the savvy investor.
Okay, lay it on us.
The 4 to 6% tier requires a highly nuanced strategy. And to navigate it, you have to understand the mechanics of effective after-tax rate.
After-tax rates, got it.
You can never just look at the sticker price of an interest rate or the headline number of a stock return. You have to look at what actually ends up in your pocket after the government takes its cut.
Walk me through this. Let's do a concrete scenario right now. Give me the math of the hidden tax magic.
Sure. Let's say you have $100 of extra cash. You decide to put it in the stock market, and miraculously, you earn an 8% return this year.
Nice.
So you made $8, right?
Right, my account says I'm up $8.
On paper, yes. But you don't get to keep all $8. First, the mutual fund or ETF you bought has an expense ratio.
Which is basically a fee.
Yes, an expense ratio is essentially the management fee the fund charges you every year just to keep the lights on and manage the portfolio. It's a silent fee skimmed right off the top.
Ouch. Okay.
Then, when you eventually sell that stock to use the money, the government steps in to collect capital gains taxes on your profit.
Of course they do.
Yeah, if you are in a standard tax bracket, state and federal taxes might eat up another 15 to 20% of your gains.
So after the management fees and the capital gains taxes, my $8 profit shrinks down to maybe $5 or $6.
Precisely.
My actual real-world return is closer to 5 or 6%.
Exactly. Now, let's take that same $100 and apply it to the other side of the equation, a mortgage with a 5% interest rate.
Okay, I'm following.
In the United States, depending on how you file your taxes, the interest you pay on your mortgage is often tax deductible.
And how does that deduction mechanically change the math?
Well, a tax deduction reduces your total taxable income.
Right.
So if you pay $5 in interest to the bank, the government allows you to subtract that $5 from your total income before they calculate what you owe in income taxes.
Huh.
Because you are shielding that money from your income tax bracket, let's say you're in the 24% bracket, the actual effective cost of that $5 interest payment is significantly lower.
The tax shield absorbs some of the blow.
Yes. Meaning your 5% mortgage might actually only be costing you about 3.8% out of pocket?
So the sticker prices are a complete illusion. To make a fair comparison, I can't look at an 8% market return versus a 5% loan.
Nope, that's the rookie mistake.
I have to look at the 6% after-tax investment return against the 3.8% after-tax cost of the debt.
That is the exact mechanism. You must compare the after-tax cost of the debt against the after-tax expected return of the investment.
That completely changes things.
It does. Once you do that math, you might find that aggressively paying off a 5.5% car loan, which has no tax deductions, is actually a phenomenal use of your capital compared to a heavily taxed brokerage account.
I see where you're going, but I have to throw a massive wrench into this logic.
Uh-oh. Go ahead.
What about workplace retirement accounts? If I have a 5.5% car loan, should I completely pause my 401k contribution so I free up cash to pay that car off faster?
No, absolutely not. That is a critical exception highlighted in all the research.
Okay. Yeah.
When it comes to employer 401k matches, the math swings violently back in favor of investing.
Why? What makes an employer match so invincible?
Because of the immediate guaranteed return. If your employer offers a match, say, they will match 100% of your contributions up to 5% of your salary. The moment you put $1 into that account, your employer puts $1 in alongside it.
Right.
That is an instant, guaranteed 100% return on your money.
And there is zero tax math or market volatility that can defeat a 100% guaranteed return.
Nothing can touch it. It obliterates any mid-tier debt interest rate out there. The golden rule here is you never, ever leave free money on the table.
Free money is the best kind.
It is. Even if you have consumer debt, you should always contribute the exact minimum required to your 401k to capture the maximum employer match. Once you have secured that 100% return, then you pivot all your remaining extra cash back to attacking your debt.
All right, so with all this compelling math showing how valuable it is to pay down debt for those guaranteed returns, a logical listener might arrive at an extreme conclusion.
I think I know where you're going with this.
They might think, okay, I'm going to log into my bank right now, take every single dollar I have in checking and savings, leave my account at zero, and throw it all at my debt.
Please don't do that.
Looking at the data, doing that is incredibly dangerous.
Right. Emptying your liquidity to become completely debt-free overnight is one of the most perilous mistakes an investor can make. The absolute necessity of maintaining a 3 to 6 month emergency fund in cash simply cannot be overstated.
I need you to reconcile that for me, though, because mathematically, holding cash seems wildly inefficient.
On a spreadsheet, yes.
Right. If my cash is just sitting there in a checking account earning 0.1% interest, it is actively losing purchasing power to inflation while my debt continues to compound. Why would I hold cash?
Because life does not operate on a spreadsheet. If you use all your liquidity, every available dollar of cash to pay off your debt, you have eliminated your buffer. You are financially naked.
That's a scary place to be.
Extremely. A single unexpected medical emergency, a surprise home repair like a broken water heater, or a major transmission failure in your car is going to happen eventually.
It's just a matter of time.
And when it does, because you have zero cash reserves, you will be forced right back into using that 20.97% interest credit card to cover the emergency. You end up trapped in a vicious repeating cycle.
It's like the shock absorbers on your car. You wouldn't rip the shock absorbers off your vehicle just to make the car lighter so you could drive a little bit faster.
That's a perfect way to look at it.
You absolutely need them because the road is inherently bumpy. Without shock absorbers, hitting a single pothole doesn't just slow you down. It destroys the axle and ruins the entire vehicle.
That is precisely what an emergency fund is, a financial shock absorber. And right now, in the current macroeconomic climate, those shock absorbers are more vital than ever.
Why is that?
Well, based on a Reuters report from July 10th, 2026, the Federal Reserve is closely monitoring what they call sticky inflation.
Break down sticky inflation for us. Why is it sticky and how does it impact the listener's debt?
Inflation is sticky when prices for core necessities like housing, services, and insurance refuse to come down, even after the initial shocks to the economy have passed.
It just stays stubbornly high.
Exactly. Because these prices stay stubbornly high, the Federal Reserve is forced to react. Their primary weapon against inflation is keeping the federal funds rate elevated. By keeping the door open for further rate hikes, the Fed makes borrowing money more expensive across the entire economy.
And that federal funds rate acts like a gravitational pull on consumer debt. When the Fed raises rates, the prime rate goes up, and suddenly the variable interest rates on your credit cards and personal loans automatically adjust higher.
Yes. When the economic environment is this uncertain and borrowing costs could unexpectedly spike, having a cash buffer protects you from being forced to borrow money at those terrible elevated rates.
That makes total sense.
But there is another equally important layer to holding cash, which ties deeply into behavioral finance. It's what we call the psychological return.
The psychological return. What does that actually look like in practice?
It looks like emotional endurance. Having cash sitting securely in the bank, combined with lower monthly debt obligations, provides an incredible sense of peace of mind.
You sleep better at night.
You really do. And ironically, that peace of mind actually makes you a significantly better investor in the long run.
How so?
Because eventually, the stock market will crash. It is a feature of the system, not a bug. When a crash happens, investors who are stressed out, over-leveraged, and drowning in monthly debt payments tend to panic. The pressure is too high, so they sell their stocks at the absolute bottom of the market, permanently locking in massive losses.
Well, that's the worst time to sell.
But if your debt burden is low and you have a robust cash buffer sitting in the bank, you have the emotional endurance to just sit tight, ignore the panic, and ride out the market storm. Managing your debt isn't just about maximizing the raw numbers on a spreadsheet.
It's about surviving the emotional roller coaster.
Exactly. It's about building the emotional fortitude required to stay wealthy once you get there.
That is such a powerful framework. So let's bring all this together for you, the listener. The ultimate takeaway here is that building wealth isn't about blinding yourself and treating all debt as some moral failing.
Not at all.
It's a strategic optimization game based on today's math. It is about aggressively, ruthlessly eliminating your expensive consumer debt, those 20% five-alarm fires.
Yes.
It's about carefully managing your mid-tier debt, like a 6.5% mortgage, by properly calculating your effective after-tax rates to see the real sticker price.
Spot on.
And above all, it's about maintaining enough liquid cash to act as a shock absorber against the unexpected potholes of life.
It is a delicate balancing act. And before we go, I want to leave you with one final provocative exercise to do on your own tonight.
Okay, let's hear it.
I want you to sit down with all your financial statements and look at your complete financial picture. But this time, I want you to treat your debts as negative assets inside your portfolio.
Oh, I love that framing.
Yeah.
Negative assets pulling down the total return.
Yes. Run the math. Calculate the actual blended guaranteed return you are currently paying out in interest right now across your credit cards, your car loans, and your mortgage.
Figure out that exact percentage pulling you downward.
Then look closely at your actual investments and ask yourself an honest question. Is your current investment portfolio genuinely beating that debt number, especially after you factor in the invisible drain of taxes and expense ratios?
That's a sobering question.
The answer you find might completely change how you allocate your very next paycheck.
Are you holding guaranteed $80 bills, or are you clutching a scratch-off ticket? It's time to find out which one is really in your hand. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button.